You walk into a frozen castle. Frost clings to the threshold. Your breath cracks in the air. Inside, the nobles are sweating. No fireplaces blazing. No chimneys smoking. Yet deep in these walls lurks a heat system so cunning, it's been almost erased from history. You're about to witness fire that never burns and warmth born from stone. In 60 seconds, you'll see how kitchens powered entire wings, why bed curtains were better than modern radiators, and how stone walls remembered heat hours after flames died. Stay, because what you think you know about medieval cold is a lie. You step deeper into the great hall. The air tastes of cold. Your fingers bruise blue before they find grip on the torch sconce. Yet in the center, heat lingers. A phantom glow where none should be. Stone is the enemy of warmth, but here, it becomes the heart of the castle's heating. Thick masonry, dense walls, vaulted ceilings, designed not to trap heat, but to absorb and meter it. When the fire dies, the walls exhale warmth like sleeping lungs. You see the pattern. The outer chambers are icy. Move 2 rooms inward and you feel sweat on your brow. That gradient was intentional. They carved the castle into zones of warmth and cold, like a brain mapping comfort. Decoration is not for vanity. Tapestries hung on stone do more than whisper tales. They intercept draft, create air cushions, slow convection, rush mats, thick rugs, wooden screens, and linen veils all served one purpose: slow the loss. Look down. The floor, flagstones warmed by hidden braziers beneath. The hearth's heat secreted into the foundation, rising slowly. Sound muffles. The hall dims. But you feel the afterglow still radiating from yesterday's fire. You taste smoke barely. The fire is banked. Coal burns low, never flares. The servants sealed vents, sealed windows, closed corridors. The castle is a breathing organism, alive in contrast, dead in cold. In the bedchamber above the dais, the roof rafters are blackened, not by smoke, but by years of absorbing radiance. Those beams, warmed at hearth time, now glow faintly in winter's hush. A silent furnace. Your cloak is useless here. The architecture fights the cold better than steel. Those who walk these halls didn't just survive. They engineered winter. You sense now. That cold castle is a lie. The warmth isn't in the fire. It's in the design, the stone, the scale, and the secrets lost to time. You wake before dawn. The castle is silent. No roar. No crackle yet. The air shivers with a faint warmth that shouldn't exist. The fires are dead. The hearth is black. But something beneath your boots is breathing heat. You follow it. Beneath the rush matting, iron glows dull red in a brazier buried halfway into the stone floor. No flame, only embers pulsing like a sleeping heart. A servant crouches there, face streaked with soot, stirring the ashes with a hooked rod. He's not feeding a fire. He's tuning it. This is the castle's secret. Charcoal, not wood. No smoke, no flare. No wasted heat screaming up a chimney. The fire eats its own air slowly, trapped under a thin crust of ash. It burns without showing itself. A controlled suffocation that can last till dawn. You kneel closer. The warmth doesn't rise fast. It oozes thick and heavy, spreading across the stone. The floor itself becomes a silent radiator. Every flagstone here stores what little heat it's given, then exhales it in whispers. Hours later, when the fire seems gone, the floor still breathes like a buried beast. Further in, you find another device, a tile stove, glazed green, tall as a man. It's a ceramic fortress built to imprison a small fire. You open the vent and glimpse the coals inside, glowing like the eye of a predator. The tiles hum with low warmth. For the next 12 hours, they'll bleed heat through clay walls into the noble's chamber. No smoke, no roar, just invisible fire. The nobles sleep above this quiet furnace. Their rooms never freeze. The air stays still. The heat, slow and deliberate, seeps into the bedding, the tapestries, the wood itself. By morning, the room will still hold a ghost of summer. Down below, the servants fight the opposite battle. They drag fresh charcoal, crush it into powder, feed it to the braziers like medicine. Each scoop is precious, every spark rationed. One mistake, a flare, a puff of smoke, and the whole hall would choke. They've mastered the chemistry of starvation, heat without flame. You realize this isn't medieval ignorance. It's precision engineering. They didn't just light fires. They designed them to obey. Every brazier, every tile stove, every vent works like a primitive thermostat. The castle's warmth isn't wild. It's regulated, predictable, intentional. Step outside again. The courtyard is brittle with frost. Every breath a shard of glass. Step back inside, and the wall itself feels alive, pulsing, radiating quiet heat from last night's stored energy. The miracle isn't that they found warmth in the dark. It's that they made stone, iron, and ash work together like a living system. This is the hidden fire, the one that never burned, the one that never slept. The real secret of medieval survival wasn't strength, it was control. You walk into the courtyard after sunrise. The snow glitters against the battlements, but the south wall glows faintly golden. You reach out stone, rough as bone, and feel it. Warm, not burning, not cold, just alive. The castle is still holding yesterday's fire. You begin to see the pattern now. Every tower, every wall, every corridor isn't built for beauty. It's a machine, a heat trap disguised as architecture. Each block of limestone, each slab of granite, a cell in a massive thermal battery. During the day, the sun and the kitchens load it with energy. At night, it releases it back into the bones of the castle like a slow heartbeat. You follow the warmth inward. The kitchen fires downstairs are long dead, but the upper floors still breathe out the ghosts of their heat. The thick inner walls act as arteries, carrying warmth from one wing to another. It's not heating, it's circulation. Stop at the window slit. A finger of light cuts through, thin as a blade. It hits the same spot on the wall every morning. That isn't coincidence. The masons built these halls like instruments, tuned to sunlight angles. Every bit of warmth stolen from the sky and stored in stone. Inside the great hall, you kneel beside the central hearth. The ash is cold. The stones around it are not. They're radiating the memory of last night's fire, as if the heat got trapped between layers of rock. You press your palm against one smooth blackened, and you can feel history itself still radiating. The past is warm. Medieval builders didn't think of heat as something you made. To them, heat was a resource, something to capture, store, and ration. The castle doesn't waste anything. The thick walls block wind, but they also delay time. Day heat doesn't vanish. It lingers, crawling through the structure inch by inch until dawn. You climb the spiral staircase. The air shifts as you ascend. Cold at the base, warm halfway up, cold again near the roof. That twist in temperature isn't random. The stairwell acts like a chimney, moving air between floors in slow, controlled spirals. Even the wind outside is forced to serve. At the top, a narrow passage opens toward the solar, the private chamber of the Lord. Here, the warmth is steady, gentle, not fire, not sunlight, but the stored breath of the building itself. The floor tiles glow faintly beneath your boots. You understand the trick now. The castle doesn't fight winter. It digests it. The walls, floors, ceilings, everything is part of one organism built to survive the cold. You think of modern homes with their constant burning gas and humming heaters, wasting energy by the hour. This fortress does more with almost nothing. It doesn't consume. It endures. Outside, the wind screams across the battlements. Inside, you hear only silence, the hum of ancient physics. The castle remembers every fire it's ever held. And tonight, it will remember yours. You move deeper into the castle, down a corridor lined with shadows. A draft slides across your face like a blade, cold, sharp, uninvited. Then you turn a corner, and the air changes. The cold stops. The silence thickens. You're standing in front of a wall, completely smothered in tapestry. The fabric moves slightly in the flickering torchlight. Woven hunting scenes, gold thread, faded blues, beautiful, yes, but that's not their purpose. These aren't decorations. They're armor. Each layer of cloth is a shield against the air itself. You touch it, and behind the softness, you feel the warmth trapped between the weave and the wall. A hidden pocket of heat. Every inch of this room is dressed like a body. Wool curtains over windows, leather screens near doors, rush mats underfoot, fur throws on the benches. The castle wears layers just as you do. You begin to understand the builders treated rooms as living things. They dressed them for winter. You pull aside the tapestry. The wall behind it is wet with condensation. The cold stone meets trapped air, and that tiny layer of space, the one hand's width between fabric and rock, is where warmth hides. One silent insulation chamber, multiplied across the castle. It's simple, brilliant, and nearly invisible. In the Lord's bedchamber, the method becomes obsession. You step beneath the heavy canopy bed, its curtains drawn tight. The air inside feels like a different world, 5 degrees warmer, scented with smoke and wool. You crouch, and the difference is immediate. Outside the curtains, breath fogs white. Inside, the air is still, almost human. The bed isn't furniture. It's a microclimate. The walls hum with trapped heat, the fabrics catching every breath, every ember's whisper. Servants move quietly through the chamber, drawing curtains across doorways, layering hangings in corners, sealing the warmth with discipline learned through generations. They are not decorating. They are arming the room against the cold. You think about how easily warmth escapes your own world. Open doors, thin walls, hollow glass. But here, centuries before electricity, the solution is elegant. Containment through comfort. Nothing mechanical. Just instinct refined into architecture. Even the noble's clothing mirrors the room, linen under wool under fur. The same philosophy repeated at every scale. The castle is a nesting doll of insulation. When you step back into the corridor, the cold hits again. The difference is violent, almost shocking. That invisible threshold between layers of warmth and winter air feels like crossing from civilization into wilderness. The servants don't waste firewood. They waste nothing. Every curtain, every carpet, every woven panel is part of a larger equation. Heat here isn't generated. It's trapped, stolen, multiplied. You glance one last time at the tapestry. The hunting scene wavers in the firelight. The animals frozen mid-chase. You realize it's more than art. It's a wall of survival, a woven lie that keeps the truth of the cold locked behind it. You climb the stairwell toward the private quarters. The air thickens as you rise warmer, denser, scented faintly with smoke and beeswax. When you reach the upper landing, you realize why. The rooms up here aren't open like the grand hall. They're boxes inside boxes, each one a sealed world. You step through a low arch into the the Lord's winter chamber. The space feels muffled, almost padded. Heavy curtains hang across the doorway, even though the door itself is closed. A second curtain waits inside, forming a narrow pocket of still air. The first door keeps out sound, the second keeps out winter. You've just walked through a medieval airlock. Inside, everything closes inward. The ceiling lowers, the beams curve tight. Thick tapestries hide every wall. Carpets swallow the echo of your boots. A bed looms near the center, enormous, high, curtained on all sides like a tent. You pull the fabric aside and step inside. The difference hits instantly. It's several degrees warmer. Your breath vanishes. The air doesn't move. This isn't a bed, it's an engineered microclimate. You can hear your own heartbeat louder than the wind outside. Here, a single brazier could keep a noble alive through the longest frost. The logic is cruel and perfect. Instead of heating a hall the size of a barn, they shrink the habitable world to one enclosure. The smaller the space, the longer the warmth lasts. Even the mattress matters, stuffed with feathers, sealed with linen, designed to trap body heat. Under it, a servant slides a metal pan filled with coals, the bed warmer. You can almost feel the fabric pulse as it absorbs the heat. You lift the curtain again and peer out. The rest of the chamber looks frozen by comparison. The difference between life and frost, measured in a few steps of fabric. The nobility slept wrapped in layers of architecture, inner chamber, bed curtains, blankets, undergarments, each one smaller, warmer, more private. Outside these layers, servants huddled near stairwells, their breath fogging the air. The castle's warmth wasn't shared, it was hoarded. Every design serves that hierarchy. The ceiling beams curve low to trap heat at human height. Small alcoves break the airflow. Even the placement of furniture follows a pattern. Heavy wooden chests against outer walls to block cold. Beds pushed inward to sit in the castle's warmest heart. You notice another trick. Windows. Each one is tiny, but beneath it hangs a thick wooden shutter lined with wool. At night, the servants close them tight, sealing the glassless holes against the freezing dark. By dawn, frost crawls across the outer surface, but inside, the air stays still. You realize now the secret of medieval comfort wasn't technology. It was confinement. They didn't heat the castle. They heated themselves. Every noble lived inside a shrinking circle of warmth, a fortress within a fortress. And you, standing in that silent, curtained world, feel how thin the line between luxury and survival really was. You step into the main corridor. The moment the door behind you opens, A rush of air cuts through like a knife. The warmth flees instantly. You feel it leave your skin, drawn out by invisible hands. In a castle, the enemy isn't the cold, it's movement. Air is the thief that steals heat faster than fire can make it. Every builder knew this. Every servant fought it. The war against drafts shaped every corner of medieval architecture. You can see the defenses everywhere once you know where to look. The door you just opened? Double layered. A narrow antechamber separates it from the main hall. That small space the screen's passage works as a medieval airlock. When you close one door before opening the next, the wind dies. The warmth stays. Servants memorize the rhythm of these movements like ritual. One door, pause. Second door, silence. You follow the corridor and notice the pattern. No long straight paths. Every hallway turns. Every doorway offset by a wall or screen. It's deliberate. Straight lines invite wind. Corners break it. Even spiral staircases do double-duty tight turns, slow air as much as they slow intruders. The masons designed the building to trap air and kill it. At night, the castle's lungs close. Heavy drapes fall across arches. Tapestries drawn tight across interior doors. Servants seal every seam with folded cloth, covering cracks with straw and damp moss. The sound dulls to nothing, as though the castle itself is holding its breath. Inside that stillness, heat collects like fog. In the great hall, you see how carefully the airflow is choreographed. Fires need oxygen, but not too much. Open vents draw air upward, forcing smoke toward high beams before it can sting the eyes. Carved wooden screens create soft currents that feed the fire without letting cold drafts reach the nobles on the dais. Every flicker of flame is managed by design. You notice one more secret. The doors themselves breathe. They're thick oak, lined with leather, edges wrapped in wool strips. When closed, they form an airtight seal centuries before rubber gaskets. The sound when they shut is final, a low thud that cuts off the outside world completely. You stand still. The air is motionless now, thick, warm, alive. The moment you move, you feel the difference. A current, a whisper. Every breath you take becomes part of the castle's weather system. It's unsettling, realizing how fragile warmth is here. A single open door can undo hours of preparation. Every bit of comfort depends on discipline, doors shut, curtains sealed, movements planned. You understand now that medieval comfort wasn't cozy. It was controlled. A constant negotiation between fire, stone, and air. The people who lived here didn't chase heat. They fought to keep it from escaping. And when you close the last door behind you, hearing the heavy latch echo through the hall, the silence feels like victory. The castle has stopped breathing again. You descend the narrow stairs toward the service floor. The air grows thicker, damp stone, old ash, faint iron. Down here, the fires live, but you see almost none of them. The castle burns quietly. The glow hides behind walls, beneath floors, inside chimneys too narrow to crawl through. This is heat without light, fire without flame. At the base of the stairs, you find a servant crouched beside a bronze bowl, stirring a pile of dull red coals. Charcoal again. No sparks, no blaze, only slow, radiant heat. The smell is faint, sweet, metallic. They've learned how to make fire behave like an obedient animal. You lift the lid of another brazier. Inside, the coals are layered like earth-glowing heart below, gray crust above. That crust is ash, starved of oxygen. It keeps the embers alive for hours, sometimes a whole night. This is their secret weapon, controlled suffocation. No chimney pours smoke into the sky here. Instead, a web of vents channels the fumes through stone flues that snake between floors before escaping high in the towers. The heat lingers in the walls long after the smoke is gone. You touch one of those vents, and the stone hums faintly warm, alive. In the Lord's chamber, the same trick evolves. You find a hooded fireplace, a half-dome that captures smoke and redirects it upward while reflecting heat back toward the bed. The canopy is blackened, but the air below is clean. The hood traps the radiant heat, bending it back toward the room like sunlight off glass. Fire and geometry conspiring together. Farther inside, the tile stoves glow in silence, massive pillars of green ceramic. You tap one with your knuckle, and the sound is deep, like knocking on a heartbeat. The tiles store heat and release it for 12 hours. No flames, no noise, no waste. You could fall asleep beside one and wake still warm. The servants know how to feed these invisible fires. They use bellows not to stoke flames, but to breathe just enough life into the coals without reviving smoke. Every hour they adjust vents, cover openings, shift embers. Heating isn't a chore here. It's an art form, a daily choreography of restraint. You realize now why nobles demanded silence at night. No crackling wood, no roaring hearth. Heat without sound became the luxury of the elite. In the lower halls, peasants still slept beside open fires, lungs full of smoke. Up here, warmth came without consequence, hidden, odorless, perfect. You lean close to one of the braziers. The glow inside is hypnotic. It looks harmless, almost dead, but the air around it throbs with life. You imagine the centuries that passed in rooms like this, fires that never flamed, castles that glowed from within night after night. The truth hits you. Medieval warmth wasn't comfort, it was discipline. The mastery of flame so complete it vanished from sight. Fire that served in silence, that was the real mark of civilization. You descend deeper, following the faint scent of earth and soot. The stairs twist tighter, narrower, colder. Then suddenly it's warm again. A ghostly breath of heat brushes your cheek. You've entered the undercroft, the hidden belly of the castle. This is where the real warmth begins. Down here, no one speaks of comfort. They speak of control. You can feel the air shift with each step. The temperature changes almost by design. The masons built the castle's underfloor, like a labyrinth of lungs, Hypocaust channels, hollow brick veins that carry heat from one side to the other. You crouch and run your hand along the ground. It's trembling soft, pulsing with the memory of fire. Somewhere below, a furnace breathes. The Romans invented it, but the medieval builders resurrected it in secret, adapting it, improving it, hiding it. Warm air runs beneath stone floors, rising through grates disguised as drain covers. The nobles above never saw the fire that fed them. They only felt its ghost underfoot. You push open a door into a narrow maintenance tunnel. The air hits you like the breath of a beast. Hot, dry, metallic. The walls glow faintly orange where the flues run behind them. You can hear the sound low, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. It's the furnace master's chamber. He works alone, his face slick with sweat, his eyes reflecting embers. He tends the fire not by sight, but by feel the color of the air, the vibration of the walls, the hum of the draft. He burns wood, peat, even dry dung if the nobles demand more heat. He listens to the draw of every vent above and adjusts accordingly. Too much air, and the fires roar, wasting fuel. Too little, and the warmth dies before reaching the floors. You realize this man controls the castle's heartbeat. He decides who freezes and who sleeps in comfort. Above, the lords dine and boast of luxury. Below, one man's precision keeps the illusion alive. At the far end of the tunnel, you find the ash vault. Blackened piles of waste stretch high against the ceiling. It smells like burned centuries. Each shovel of ash once glowed red in the Lord's hearth. Each layer is a record of warmth spent. The furnace eats endlessly, and this vault is its graveyard. When you turn back, the heat feels heavier. The air is thicker, harder to breathe. You climb toward the surface again, passing through stone that's still radiating from below. You realize you've been walking through a machine, an ancient, breathing engine disguised as a home. By the time you reach the upper floors, the air cools. You look back down the stairwell, and it feels alive, as if the castle is exhaling. Every warm floorboard, every heated wall powered by the labor of a man you'll never see again. In that moment, you understand the final truth. Medieval warmth was never magic. It was invisible engineering, a system built on silence, secrecy, and human endurance. You wake to silence. The fire is out. The stone beneath you bites through the wool. The air has turned sharp, metallic, the kind that stings when you breathe too fast. It's the winter of 1315, the kind peasants still whisper about generations later, the winter that refused to end. Outside, the land is drowned. Crops rot under endless rain. Cattle starve where they stand. In the castle, the nobles order more wood, more peat, more anything that burns. But even the forest has gone wet and heavy. The smoke won't rise, it clings, choking every hall. You push open a window slit. The air knifes through instantly. It feels alive, almost sentient, as if the cold itself has come to conquer. You slam the shutter and turn back toward the hearth. There's nothing left but black coals, faint as dying stars. You remember what the steward said. Every ember is coin now. The servants have started burning everything: broken stools, grain husks, even dried animal bones. You can smell it in the corridors. Grease, decay, desperation. The warmth it gives barely touches the air before vanishing. You pull the tapestries tighter, layer blankets over the door gaps, but it's like trying to hold back an ocean with cloth. In the kitchens, the cooks hover near the great oven not to bake, but to survive. They huddle shoulder to shoulder, eyes sunken, lips cracked from dry smoke. The heat here is filthy greasy, choking, but still, they cling to it. One of them jokes weakly that the oven's the only loyal friend left in the castle. No one laughs. You walk past the scullery and see servants asleep standing up, hands near the warm stones. They've learned to rest without touching the floor because it steals heat faster than air. The walls are slick with condensation. Ice beads form where the drafts crawl in. By midnight, you can hear the castle groan. The beams pop, the iron hinges whine. Even the stones expand and contract like living flesh. Heat and cold fight an endless war within these walls, and you stand at its center, small and fragile. In the upper chambers, the Lord's family sleep beside braziers filled with glowing ash. The nurse keeps turning the coals so the fumes don't kill them in their sleep. They trade danger for warmth one wrong breath, and the air itself becomes poison. You realize now how false the word comfort was. There was no comfort, only negotiation with death. Fire too strong burns you. Fire too weak abandons you. You stare into the embers, what's left of them, and they seem to stare back. They whisper of the centuries to come, the ice, the famine, the endless war against the cold. And as the last glow dies, you finally understand. Survival wasn't about warmth. It was about endurance. The will to wait for spring when the world had forgotten what warmth felt like. You stand in the great hall again. The fire roars, banners tremble, and laughter echoes from the high table. To a traveler, this might look like comfort golden light spilling across the stones. Nobles in furs, servants pouring wine beside the flames. But you know better now. You've seen where that heat is born. You've walked the tunnels that breathe beneath these walls. Every spark here is stolen, borrowed, rationed. You step closer to the hearth. The logs hiss. The flames look strong, yet you feel the chill pressing at your back. The heat never reaches more than a few paces. Beyond that, the air is still winter's domain, silent, watchful, patient. The nobles pretend not to notice. They speak of summer hunts, of silks from the east, of the king's next war. But every few minutes, someone shifts closer to the fire, quietly chasing an inch of warmth. The servants know the truth. You can see it in the way they move fast, quiet, economical. They know the fire's hunger. It eats wood, time, and breath. By dawn, the woodpile will be half gone. By next week, the forest itself will shrink. They don't speak of it. They just feed it, again and again. The architect's brilliance hides in plain sight. The vaulted ceiling draws the smoke away, while carved vents in the walls spread the heat through tiny currents. The warmth that reaches your hands passes through systems older than memory, air trapped behind plaster, hollows inside columns, narrow flues between stones. The castle doesn't heat itself. It circulates ghosts. You move toward the upper chambers, following a faint warmth rising through the floors. The heat fades with every step. By the time you reach the tower, the air is brittle again. Frost feathers the inside of the windows. The noble sleeping here has a brazier at his bedside, wrapped in brass filigree, glowing faintly. The illusion continues. He dreams in light, while the cold waits beneath the bed. You remember the furnace master below, his hands black with soot. His fire keeps this illusion alive. Every ember upstairs owes its existence to his labor in the dark. The castle doesn't conquer winter. It delays it. You open a window slit. The air slices in, raw and ancient. Snow drifts across the sill. In that moment, you understand. This entire fortress, its tapestries, its walls, its whispered tricks, is a monument to denial. They couldn't escape the cold, so they built a theater of warmth instead. Every stone, every draft, every dying ember plays its part in a performance that fools only those who never touched the furnace. You close the window, watching your breath fog the air. The fire crackles faintly somewhere below. The warmth touches your skin, but not your bones. You finally understand what every medieval soul knew. but never said aloud. No one is warm in a castle. They only learn how to pretend.